I'm going to add content to the Poser library now. The first method I'll use is sort of semi-manual, so I'll delete the Andy figure, and I'll just confirm that here. And then I'll come down to the training folder I created earlier, and to keep things nice and neat, I want to create a subfolder, so I'll actually click on Create New Folder here, and I'll call this SF Figures. I'll just hit the return key on the keyboard, and that's where I'm going to create a new figure. There's the new subfolder here. I need a figure to go in there, so I'll actually use a figure I created earlier. I'll import a Poser document. I'll use the Allison figure I created earlier on. Click on Open here, and then the figure will open in the Poser scene. We just need to wait a few moments for that to happen, and there's quite a few props and clothing accessories attached to the figure. And there she is, but because I've imported the Poser scene, all the lights and the other setups I created have been imported with the figure. So I just want to save the figure itself, so I'll just zoom in on the Allison figure here. And I'll just make sure that the Allison body is selected using the actor menu. And I'll go into that new subfolder I just created just to make sure that's the right place. And with the body selected now, I can click Add to Library. Now you notice straight away it's saying New Set. Poser doesn't immediately assume that every single thing you want to save is a figure. It can be a set of figures, a set of props attached to each other, and that's exactly what's happening here. So I'll actually call this SF Allison. Click on OK. And then it will remind me that the figure is part of a grouping. There's a dialog box has come up to confirm that. So it is a compound figure grouping, so I want to save the entire group. I don't want to save the individual figure. That will just save Allison without any of her clothing or props attached to her. So I want to save the whole group. So I'll just click on the button there. And again, a few moments go past, and the figure should now be available on the library menu. So if I just click on the down arrow here, there's the Allison figure. If I single click, I can then see the preview image here. Now, just to show that that's really worked, I'll open a new scene. I don't want to save any changes there. And again, I'll just delete the Andy figure. And this time, if I double click on the image preview here, the Allison figure should load on its own. Again, there's quite a few props attached, so that takes a short while. And there's the figure. Now this time she isn't in a PZ3 file, so there's no lighting coming in with her, no preset camera angles, just the figure on its own, ready to be dropped into a scene. So that's a kind of semi-manual method for saving a figure. You can create one using existing assets in your Poser library and then save it as an entirely new figure. Particularly useful if you're designing a big scene with lots of figures. Now I'm going to use a slightly different method to load a figure, so I'll need to open a new scene again. I don't want to save any changes there. And we have a new scene now, so I'll just collapse my library menu here. And again, I'll delete the Andy figure. And this time I'll come up to the content room, and I'm going to install a new figure direct from an existing zip archive, which I did buy about 4 years ago from the Content Paradise website. So I'll actually use the Install from Zip Archive button here to navigate for that content. I have a folder on one of my drives full of Poser content, so I'll just navigate to the folder that I want. Come down a little bit more. I'm looking for the Tease and the Terai Yuki figure. There's the folder. Now that's the figure that I want just here. So I'll double click on the entry there. And already Poser's recognized that it's an installable archive, and it's asking me where I want to put it. Now this is the default setting for downloaded content. I don't want to put it there. I'm going to put it into one of my custom folders. So again, I'll click on the library entry here, and my documents folders. I'll navigate down to the public documents and then the Poser 8 content folder here. Well, I want to put it in the third party folder, because it's a figure made by a third party. So I'll just confirm that by clicking OK. I'll just make sure the path is exactly the same there. Yes, that's where it has to go. And then I click on the Install button, and straight away Poser has loaded everything from the archive very, very quickly. And if I now come up to the Pose room again, by clicking on the Pose tab, I can then search for that content. Now it should be in the third party library folder here, and there it is. It's showing up in the middle there. So I'll just drop down, and there are the new icons for the figure I've just loaded. Now one option is Terayuki to full. So there's the icon for the figure, the preview image. I'll just double click on the preview image, and that new figure is now installed. This is a very popular manga style figure for posing an animation in Poser, and the figure is very detailed and comes with a lot of clothing already loaded, and hairstyles and poses and props. So that's an automatic method of loading figures. If the file structure is correct in the archive that you've purchased, Poser can install every single item for you. It's also possible to install everything manually, but that is a little bit more fiddly. It's entirely possible, but you may well end up putting some content in the wrong place, so using the automatic methods is highly recommended. You can also remove content from the library, so again I'll open a new scene, and I'll just confirm I don't want to save changes there. Now I don't need to delete the Andy figure because I'm not going to use the document window for the moment. I'm going to search in my props folder for a prop I want to remove. Now I've come into the part of my downloads folder here, and there is an entry here for Safety Man, and there's a 30-inch monitor prop I want to take away from my library. So to do that I actually click on the preview image, and you can see that there are various options here. I can apply this particular item to the document window. I can create a new folder again, or I can delete this item from the library. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll just click on this button, and you get a confirmation dialog box then, because this really is permanent. This entry will be permanently deleted, and it will not be available. It'll have to be reinstalled from its original archive if you want to use the item again. So in this case I'll say yes, and that item is now removed. So there you are, that's adding content to your library and removing it.